and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. We are the Dudley Boys of WhatCulture. I'm Adam Wilbourn, joined by Michael Hamflett and Michael Sidgwick, here to review everything that happened on last night's episode of AEW Dynamite. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. We do daily wrestling podcasts where we not only review AEW Dynamite, but also AEW Collision, Raw, SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0. Pay-per-views, premium live events. We have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a round of the week complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on WrestleCulture. As I said, though, joined by Hamflett and Sidgwick to review AEW Dynamite, and thank God the feeling's back, eh?
I'm in a mood. I'm in a mood.
Understandable. I thought of you immediately, mate.
I am in a mood. Okay. Straight off the old bat ski.
Yep.
Two incredible members of our podcast listening community were in attendance for this show.
Yes.
So I will say, and I will say it earnestly, there were two matches where I thought I'd like to have been in attendance to watch that.
Yeah.
It looked like a fun show in the ring, if you discount the fact that, you know, Pac has been injured. Not so fun.
No.
Okay. There were one match I would love to have just been there live for, a party match. That match, incidentally, I would have had a lot more time for had I been in a good mood, but I wasn't. Brawl Out was in September 2022, right? September 2022. Brawl Out. The sentiment surrounding the company broken in some way forever. The vibe surrounding the company broken in some way forever. Narratively, we are at a point where AEW is still dealing with the repercussions of Brawl Out and the so-called fabled feeling being lost. They have tried to grapple, they being AEW, with this narratively for quite some time, whether it is the Elite, or rather the New Elite, showing the footage in 2024 of the second version of Brawl Out, the Wembley Brawl In, and the Young Bucks have an issue with how that was managed in storylines, and they decide to attack Tony Khan and, take him out, and this doesn't make sense because he can do it remotely. There's barely a takeover angle. It's really bad. It should have been retconned immediately. It isn't. We are still doing it. We seem to be still doing the Elite wanting to change the world and change AEW for reasons in their own image, and they are aligning with the Death Riders, who in 2024 became the second heel stable intent on changing AEW because it's gone bad. And correct me if I'm wrong, this feeling being lost, it all is catalyzed by the events of Brawl Out, which happens, I will reiterate, in September 2022. It is now, correct me if I'm wrong again, April 2025. In no context whatsoever, whether it's Jon Moxley playing a hypocritical heel or whatever the do I want to hear any variation whatsoever of AEW is bad, AEW is disappointing, AEW isn't or hasn't reached its potential, AEW needs to change, because guess what? Okay. Tony Khan has been tweeting after every show, after every, other than this and other than Dynasty, every really quite well-received show. I think AEW is on a string of great shows. AEW markets itself as where the best wrestle. AEW is now the second most profitable wrestling promotion of all time. What's so bad about it? What is so bad about it? Why do I have to be reminded that it is bad? Why does Anarchy in the Arena have to be like this? I cannot believe we're doing this again. I cannot fathom why we are doing this again, particularly since outside of the Death Riders and the main event scene, AEW has been doing what actually needs to be done and quietly setting about actually making it good and creating storylines that people are gravitating towards, matchups with stories heading into those matches that people are really sort of getting into, you know? MJF Hangman, Kenny Omega International Champion, like FTR have turned.
Ospreay's road to the title.
Ospreay's road to the title. The Hangman Swerve continuation until very recently. I do not understand what on earth we are playing at, and I hate it so much. Like an actual feeling of like a mood lowering when I'm watching this show last night. I'm baffled, uninterested. And here's the other thing as well. The idea is once you know, you can't fabricate this like in the narrative, but this idea of AEW will be saved and there'll be a great mythical reset point at All In if and when Mox drops that title and the feeling's back. There are elements of the show where I'm thinking, I don't think it's that much of an easy magic fix. The soul's back, the feeling's back when All In happens, irrespective of the result. I just hate it. Hamflett, jump in so I don't keep ranting about this.
Well, just on that last point, All In wasn't supposed to be a magic fix, was it? It was supposed to be a culmination of all of these doing the work bits of the last 8-9 months that get celebrated in a stadium that is like, you know what, now we actually get to like luxuriate in the new world that we've carefully crafted and created to culminate with Will Ospreay becoming the champion, with 8 months to a year of people just really enjoying the show again, and now onward we move. It wasn't a magic one they were looking for, it was that. And I don't think that's necessarily been lost, but I found the timing, like I didn't like Dynamite last night really, and I've enjoyed it almost all year. And the timing, initially I was going to come on the pod and say, the timing of this is really unfortunate. It's not, it's annoying. It's not unfortunate because it's by their own design. To Sidge's point, like all of the good feeling around it, that word feels just poisoned. All of the good vibes around AEW have been rooted in them doing the proper stuff, the actual work that is sometimes boring. And like, it's a lot of the stuff that I gravitate towards, but like things like plotting and just like hitting you over the head with the characters that actually matter. Like, I like that in my wrestling because by and large, when you do that, the rewards are there. The fantasy booking is there. The idea that you want to live in the world is there. And all of that was happening week after week after week. And none of it was perfect and nobody was saying it was. And I did a highlight that I felt that there was still a spark within one character maybe that was going to just kind of complete this that they were working on. But the matches are kind of AEW's safe bet bit, and it was the rest that they were starting to get right. And I don't think that's been like blown up by one Dynamite, but the timing of this bad episode ahead of what should be a massive celebration next week. Like, yes, it's fun to poke at the fact that like Eric Bischoff's like Juggernaut Nitro gets, I mean, it wasn't his the entire time, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Nitro was his big thing to hold up and say, I did that, and like I took on WWE and won for a bit, and like little old AEW is never going to be that. Well, next week, like it is that, and then goes beyond that, and that's fun, and we can all have a laugh with that. And AEW should, by the way, should take not just over Bischoff, but should just take victory laps as the best ever North American number 2 ever. Like, and they'll continue to be that, and soon the Nitro record will be in the dim and distant past, and they'll be on to 10 years and whatever. But the reason we had last night's Dynamite, or the reason we have like the return of this elite stuff and the Young Bucks and all that, is because they themselves are insisting on doing Anarchy in the Arena and Blood and Guts. And you know that on the whiteboard, they've been there. And it's like, well, how do we get the numbers together? Well, we could bring the Young Bucks back. We could have the Death Riders combine or whatever. You could just not do those matches.
Yeah.
You could like, but they've created that problem for themselves.
Yeah.
So much of the stuff that wasn't good on this show, narratively, was as a result, like the prize, yet again, of a Blood and Guts will be this weird, amorphous control of AEW thing. For the second year in a row, and the terms and stakes
is this?
And the terms and stakes weren't clear last year, and probably won't be this year, right? John Moxley's not going to lose the belt in that cage, so those are the only stakes and terms they're going to be able to put up. And it couldn't be a worse time to go back to it because nobody was really thinking in those terms anymore. Nobody was speaking like that. Yeah. But they've created the circumstances for that because they insist on these multi-man wars that they've got to book. Like, that's why it's happened. And yeah, it really stuck out to me that I was going to say, it's really bad timing for this to be a bit of a stinker of an episode. No, it's of their own doing and creation.
Sitch warned about this yesterday on the preview.
Yeah, I had a bad feeling, and it's sort of materialized, you know. Here's something, right? Let's play devil's advocate. We sometimes, and maybe, you know, we sometimes try and stress that, look, creative plans aren't as easy as one promoter, one booker with one vision saying, all of my talents who do this. Politics come into play. You could say that, you know, Tony Khan is feckless, but this has happened historically. It's happening right now in the Fed with Papa H. Mm-hmm. Like, look, Vince McMahon is the guy who most terrified his talent, right? But he also realized talent is what drives this. You kind of have to appease them at certain points, and you have to make concessions and compromises. SummerSlam 1999, like, yes, it all worked out well for Triple H, but if you don't think McMahon just wanted Austin to do that job to heat up his next top heel, I mean, you're in dreamland.
Yeah.
Austin was like, don't say it. I'll drop it to Foley, and he can drop it. He can do whatever he wants and drop it to Triple H. Like, that main event, SummerSlam 1999, I'm just using an example of, like, the most terrifying, powerful man in all of pro wrestling sometimes had to say, I'll do what the star wants on this occasion, okay? Tony Khan, I've buried him for it. Like, he's doing what a lot of bookers have faced over the years, right? And an extension of that, we want this AEW Dreamland where, you don't have to do what every promotion has done. You don't have to contrive certain events on the calendar for certain points of the year. Guess what you probably do? Like, he's probably thinking, or he's probably been told, and this is just me speculating, but Blood and Guts always does a pretty incredible number relative to what they're doing throughout the year, across the year anyway. Like, proper, honest-to-God rating successes. It would not surprise me one bit if Tony Khan's thinking, in that trap now of doing Blood and Guts every year, but it might just be a Warner decree, right? Even if that's the case, put the women in it. One, like, there's no, now that the Outcasts are done, dead, buried forever, there's no sense in the women's division that anything needs to be saved, okay? You could build, even if it's like, who's Tony Storm feuding with? Who can Tony Storm align with? Even if it's just 5 baby faces against 5 heels.
Team captain stuff, isn't it?
Team captain stuff. That's a nice, succinct way of putting it. And guess what? The women are incredible when given the rare opportunity of plunder. We see it time and time again. That makes all the sense in the world to me. It would be refreshing. It would be, the story, this grand overarching story might not be there. But how often does that even work in pro wrestling? It's often too ambitious for its own good. If we need to do it, we don't need to do it like this, is what I'm getting at. Yeah. Even with the men, we don't have to do AEW bad. Oh, God.
That's a really good point, actually, because you do, like, you can analyze it and say, well, I don't like this. And then you can be like, well, yeah, but they have to because of business. And then that used to be a WWE thing for years, didn't it? We're like the creative.
Can't turn Cena.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. Thing. So let's say, even if in the scenario where we're making the concession for, like, Anarchy in the Arena being something that draws well on pay-per-view and Blood and Guts something that draws well on television, nobody is forcing you at gunpoint to make it about, like, the soul of AEW. Like, make the Cage of Blood feud one, make Anarchy in the Arena. Let's say that was like the women's one because you've got, say, Tony Storm and Mercedes Moné as the 2 champions and they are starting to not like each other, whatever. Like, that's just heating up a feud. Like, heat up a feud and build a match around that. Don't then think, well, our default position is to go back to, like Swerve mentioned Blood and Guts in his entrance, didn't he? He's obviously trying to tether it that last year he was, like, willing to fight for AEW and Blood and Guts last year, and he'll do it again. Like,
him trying to hang a lantern on, it's been a year and we're still doing this. Yeah. I'm thinking, it's been a year and we're still doing this. Here's something as well, right? Yes, the match ended up in a farce with Jericho taking that bump and it being produced so poorly. Like, Jericho, still fair play for taking it, but it just looked really bad. That's not on him, right? So forget the finish to Blood and Guts. And yes, the sentiment of the fact that Blood and Guts is even happening for the first time in 2021 is sort of, like, really stirring and symbolic of, we might be coming out of the bad time. And there was a lot of that went into the hype. But that was the most well-built Blood and Guts match. People couldn't wait for this thing. They couldn't wait for it. Like, the preview, I remember we were recording, we were, like, up a height with the idea of seeing it at long last.
They're going to fix War Games.
They're going to fix War Games. Yeah. Like, that was built on a personal issue between Chris Jericho and MJF, and then they built, like, personal issues within that between all the other wrestlers, Virtually ever since, it's been this really wishy-washy philosophical war between pro wrestling and sports entertainment and what makes a professional, this proxy war where Bryan Danielson, tonight, the role of CM Punk will be played by Bryan Danielson in Blood and Guts 2023.
22 was the JES versus BCC, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Jericho Appreciation
that was like the match was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Or rather, the Anarchy in the Arena was, but it was still premised on pro wrestling versus sports entertainment. And then it was like, which version of pro wrestling is better? CM Punk's, Bryan Danielson's, or the Elites? What was really going on there? And then the year after, it's like War for the Soul of the Company, and we're doing that again. It's like the summers in AEW are pretty rotten as a result of this. Like, there's personal issues draw money, and we need to see more of it. And what's annoying is that there are personal issues burrowed within everything that's going on. And then I saw last night's opening segment and just wanted to stop watching it.
Well, let's talk about it. The show opens and they throw immediately to the Death Riders backstage. Mox says, this is the single greatest roster of pure talent ever assembled in AEW. So why can't anyone get their act together when it counts? They come with their talent, but they roll back down that hill. They don't address the real problem. They don't want it. The Death Riders are going to scorch the earth with anyone who calls themselves a contender before they even give an inch. He talks about the Young Bucks returning. It says he doesn't recognize them anymore. They've stumbled upon a board and they don't know what the game is.
Neither do I.
He tells them to be careful before making any moves.
Cool.
And then the show opened with a squash match. It was Jon Moxley versus Katsuyori Shibata. Fun sort of early grappling exchange. Moxley loses out on that, so he regroups, tries a chop exchange. That doesn't work, of course, because it's Shibata. And Shibata gets him into a abdominal stretch, into an octopus hold. Shibata hits one of his stalling drop kicks, but the second time Moxley nails him with a lariat. Shibata kicks out at one, so Moxley hits a pile driver, but Shibata no-sells that and hits a big PK. And then they both trade rear naked chokes. Then seemingly a bit out of nowhere, for me at least, Mox just rakes the eyes and chokes him out.
This is dreadful. This is really, really dreadful. I've spoken about Shibata and how it simply doesn't work anymore on a Collision review. I think he was wrestling Ricochet, and I made the point, I will reiterate it here, hopefully the mega fans will forgive me, that it is personally, and it's all subjective, subjectively, I can no longer, the buy-in for Shibata for me no longer exists because you are meant to situationally believe that Shibata is this absolute hard as nails, almost mythical warlord who can no-sell a pile driver, who's one of the hardest men alive, and then he loses, and then you do it again, and then he loses, and you do it again, and when you see wrestlers sell for it in the moment, I'm thinking, you're going to win. Why are you pretending he's like this? He simply can't have that character with those traits do jobs all the time. It's like a similar thing to the Hoss who just keeps losing.
Yeah.
You know, all gravity, all credibility is completely evaporated.
Lance Archer, we talked about before.
Yeah. It's almost insulting when you see this sort of farce play out in front of you. And I hate it because I love Shibata.
Yeah.
Responsible for one of my favorite matches of all time. But we are where we are. And let's just be completely honest, because there's a dishonesty with the portrayal of the Shibata character that is starting to wind me up quite a bit. And when you start to resent everything, you resent the wrestlers for showing fear of this guy who loses all the time. I resent the commentators for trying to sell me on this con that Shibata is still Shibata. But the thing is, I still have a personal connection with Katsuyori Shibata, completely parasocial and one-sided, but that's what all of this is ultimately. So the buy-in for me is deeply, deeply conditional. If he does something cool, I'll go, oh, Shibata's back in the match. I just will. So when Moxley pie faces him and Shibata lights him up with that slap to the face, I go, go on, show me something. What else you got? And then he just like loses it within 4 minutes with an incredibly anticlimactic finish. Yet another piss-poor night for Jon Moxley, because we said it on the preview, right? And again, I don't want to do the whole, I'm right about everything, but we just said, oh, Mox and Shibata could wrestle as part of this Ops, Hangman, Swerve thing we've got going on, and that might be good. And then I thought instantly, nah.
Yeah, you corrected yourself.
It won't be. It'll be rubbish. It's Jon Moxley in 2025. There's a great chance it'll be rubbish. But I gave it a chance. They came out. I thought, this match graphic, there is a version of it in the ring that's pretty awesome. And it happens. It's deeply underwhelming. I can't take it seriously. The finish is anticlimactic. At this point, Moxley is running out of cool match graphics very, very, very quickly. This was not good. Another terrible night for Jon Moxley. Is he capable of anything good at this point? That's what I'm thinking watching this.
I'm glad you said what you said at the start of your analysis there about how the presentation of Shibata
It's just an
this
insult.
fight is an insult. I'm glad you said that because I wouldn't want people thinking I was just being completely Dr. Fed when I said, like, I looked at the graphic and my eyes rolled hard. I was just like, not that.
Yeah.
Don't work me. That's bull. Don't present that graphic as something that it's clearly not. It's not 2021 anymore. And, you know, it hasn't been with Jon Moxley for a couple of years now, if we're being fair, and the Shibata thing, probably a similar time frame. So I got that off the graphic, let alone the match. And I was destined to feel nothing for this match. Destined to. Like, just in my wrestling sensibilities, but in sharing those opinions on both those wrestlers. By the end of the broadcast, you're just angry with, like, just how greedily selfish the booking is. Because how are you booking this when the show ends with what it ends with? How are you arriving at this when you said it, because I was thinking, maybe the Hurt Syndicate get forwarded, and you're like, Hamflett, you silly Billy, you're forgetting about the ops. I was like, yeah, good point, Sid, that's way more boring. Like, they're the ones that are going to get forwarded into the multi-man. But then when this plays out, you think, well, maybe not. There must be others. If Shibata's getting just handily beaten like this, then who, like, you're doing the maths, you're like, well, who actually have they got then? Because it's not going to be the ops. End of the show. It's the ops.
It's the ops.
What the f*** are you booking this for then? Yeah. Like, it was weird. Really weird that they would run with this, knowing where they were going. Like, does Shibata not make this? Like, Anarchy in the Arena?
No, I don't think he does. I don't think he does.
Like,
I mean, if you think about it, like, the guy can't take forearm shots to the face. He can't really do a blood and guts match.
So taking him out now in order to put somebody else in, and just, well, he was the weak link or something, you know? So then when all this is said and done, then you've got to go back to buying the ops as this, like, terrifying trio with Shibata in the group. But he was too weak to do the multi-mans. It's bad booking.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk post-match.
Anarchy in the Arena has a lot to answer for, but they could have answered the question a lot better.
Yeah.
Post-match, the Young Bucks appear. They walk down to the ring before Mox and Marine Shafir leave. There's a little face-off as well. Shafir steps between them. And Nicholas Jackson gets on the mic and tells the crowd to give it up for Jon Moxley and orders the fans to show some respect for your founding fathers of AEW, your EVPs, and they get the expected reaction, of course. They say the whole world's wondering why we cost Swerve the heavyweight championship. Well, they've got a couple of reasons why they did what they did. They did it for their good friend, Hangman Adam Page. This is what he wanted all along. He never wanted Swerve to be champion ever again, so they did that for him. They never forget who their friends are. They love Hangman just like they know that we love them, basically. And they also, Matthew Jackson, says they did it as a peace offering to Jon Moxley and the Death Riders. They were sat at home and they realized they've got a lot more in common with the Death Riders than they think. They want AEW to be the best company in the world, just like the Bucks do. Death Riders, obviously. They all want to change the world, and they're impressed with Moxley, who did what they couldn't, take over AEW and take over the AEW world title. Imagine the Death Riders and the Founding Fathers, the EVPs together. And so they invite Mox and his gang back to discuss business. Do you want to pause there before Kenny Omega comes out?
Yeah, I already made my feelings perfectly clear in the intro. I have no time whatsoever for any version. If they're hypocrites or whatever headcanon you want to come up with, doesn't justify any kind of AEW as bad or disappointing narrative. It is April 2025. Brawlout was in 2022. The idea, we are closing in on the 3-year anniversary of it. AEW is in some way been bad or acknowledged itself as bad far longer than it was ever like invincible or the feeling was here. Off with this utter
It's such a self-own we're not alone in this, and I know from the very beginning we were trying to like drill into whatever point Jon Moxley was trying to make, and we had a bit of fun with it, but then we also took it seriously and tried to like analyze what he was saying and make sense of it before the story just lost its way. So at this point, yeah, and you're probably right, Sid, we like a little while ago they just said stuff to his hypocrite. Hypocritical heel is ultimately what all of that was for. What a waste. But like hypocritical heel is where we've landed. But like when nobody, not a single living soul, probably not even Moxley himself, can nail down exactly what the hell he's talking about, you have two characters come back and be like, I like your style, you got some good ideas. What are they? Nobody knows what they are. And you're watching at home and you think they're great. Like that to me summed up like how little thought's been put into this. He's got the right idea. What is it?
Yeah.
Because we're all trying to figure out what it is.
So instead of the Death Riders coming out, Kenny Omega does. And he says, you did this for all your friends, did you? Mox, Hanger, You forgot to do me, he said. I remember the last time we met, if memory serves me correctly, when you diverticulitis pushed me off a stretcher. I was going to hospital, obviously. I never forgot. But when I came back to AEW, I said it was for my legacy and the safety of this company, not for revenge. They're trying to bring back the feeling.
Come on, Kenny, man. I love you so much, bro.
Don't do this to Sidge.
Come on, man. Please.
But it's time for story time with Kenny Omega, baby. Because
watch it.
He talks about back in high school. He talks about back in high school. He goes to his friend's house and they play video games, but his friend had a few dogs, some ugly little Shih Tzus, who yapped a lot. And they play video games, and occasionally these dogs would take a dookie on the floor. And this guy never cared. These dogs are almost proud of themselves. But as more and more dookie piled up and the stains became more obvious, more pungent, Kenny Omega basically said, why don't we take this to my place instead? And that was what you guys, without having me around, was like in AEW, is what he said. It's dookie chants.
Stop it. And Matt Reigns and, Scott, don't. If you joined in, I'll be cross.
He talks about seeing the books last time, shredding documents, and we're supposed to be shocked by that. We all know they were shredding receipts for private jets and a chair in your master bedroom facing your bed. Cook stuff?
Yeah.
The part that matters, that doesn't matter, he says. The part that matters.
Sure doesn't.
Good job you brought it up and went into loads of detail on it then.
He said it was you two that almost killed the company that I gave my life, my heart, and my soul for. But he says, hey, I can't lie, that time I've done you wonders. Nick, you look every bit of the 90 pounds you were before you left. Matt,
that's quite nice.
Yeah, that's nice.
Matt, lay off the hot stuff. You look as red as Nick's lapels.
Not so good, Al.
But,
1-1.
Let's cut out the middle, man. Let's have a bare knuckle fight then. But before he can get in there and scrap with them, coin drop, Kazuchika Okada comes out. It looks like a 3-on-1, but Swerve makes the save with Prince Nana and a chair, and the Bucks and Okada bail. And there's a little fist bump between Swerve and Okada. And Strickland talks about it being buck hunting season. He's got a shotgun ready to go blasting EVPs, but before he can say any more, Pac blindsigns him, and we're going to get the match after this.
Yeah, I don't want to go too far and be too hyperbolic here, because there's a lot of doomsday stuff around a bad episode of Dynamite. I thought we were past it, and maybe things will be okay, but this was a tragedy. This is a tragedy. I think the idea was, oh my God, the Bucks, Omega, Okada, Swerve, way! All the stars are here. I hated it. I didn't think there were stars.
A tragedy.
Yeah.
You saying the feeling's gone and you can't go on?
Yeah. True. I mean, I'm saying exactly that. It was meant to be like, oh my God, all the stars are here. I didn't buy any of them as stars. I didn't buy any of what they were saying. Oh my God, I was so sad. I was so sad watching this. Right. First of all, I know what they're doing here. They are building the various matches for All In, seemingly within Anarchy in the Arena and Blood and Guts, and it's all a tease, and it's all grounded by, well, we're here to save AEW or something. Again, we're doing this. Like, it just felt like I traveled back in time 1 year.
But you left.
But you left 2024. You left. It gives me no pleasure to do this because Kenny Omega is my favorite wrestler of all time. He was atrocious, actively pretty atrocious. Last night, I know he's got a sense of humor that can be either really cutting, really irreverent, or straight up dorky and not funny at all. This was straight up dorky and not funny at all, and he didn't even seem like he was having any fun with it whatsoever.
It's weird.
He kept making pauses, and I know he's not the most composed live promo, but something felt weird and off.
Yeah.
What's so strange about this, the Dookie stuff wasn't funny, the big analogy wasn't remotely funny, but away from the word choices and the story that they're trying to tell, right, what struck me watching this, and it gave us the worst feeling imaginable, is that per Sports Illustrated and per, Meltzer and every report and per the Young Bucks out of the friggin' Young Bucks' mouths, the Elite, as a foursome, negotiated their deal together, and they would only ever make their move, WWE or AEW, if there was a consensus.
Yeah.
Okay, they had to come to a consensus. They're in it together. They are in it together. They decided, for whatever reason, AEW will stick with it, And like, there was so, like, I still remember that profile piece on Sports Illustrated to this day, where one of the young bucks, I mean, what we're doing here, lads? Yeah, the schedule's really good. So I thought, why the not? That was basically what they said verbatim. Okay. But the deal is, and they are always to increasingly bleak, diminishing returns, forever tied together in storylines, because that's their big vision for what they want to do. Okay, I'm stressing that again, okay? For what they want to do. They want to tell this long, continuous story that is long since peaked. And the idea of Kenny Omega, international champion, not being associated with the Young Bucks at all was so refreshing. So Kenny Omega is doing this promo, and he just doesn't look like he's interested. He's not, like, laughing along. It would be embarrassing if he was thinking this is really funny and he was having fun, because it's just not funny material at all. I don't know if he didn't believe his own material. How to say this? I don't know anything about the interpersonal relationship between Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, but Jesus Christ, lads, if you've built your entire prime years and career and subsequent earnings and your life and your life's work around, we're doing this together and we're doing storylines together, really? It felt in this moment like you couldn't be bothered to do this. Like, it felt like in this moment, like, if you have based your entire life career, your retirement fund on doing this together, surely it should feel more enthusiastic and passionate than that last night. I could scarcely believe the lack of chemistry, the lack of quality, the lack of, I don't know, it's just the lack of anything here, considering what we know about them for and why we continue to do this together.
That's such a great take, you know, like, about what didn't, like, the one thing you could have justified any of this with is if that, like, magnetism and if that bond and camaraderie comes through the screen, then inevitably with pro wrestling, the product, that the end product of those characters is sort of good in spite of itself. Even if the booking's bad. You made me think there of, like, worst version of the human being part there, but like late 1997 Shawn Michaels does not want to be around anybody other than his best mates Triple H and China, and they just let him do it. And how good is the DX stuff on screen? Because at least there's that. It's disruptive, it's like counterproductive, but like, it's the one guy that keeps him happy. Go on and go out there and fart about, and then you get all their segments as a result, and it's like, well, it's not helping the business, but like, you're kind of getting something out of one of the top guys, because that's what happens when friends hang out together and piss about, and there's that. Yeah, there didn't seem like there was nothing in the eyes between them. There was none of them like knowing glances or that like frisson that ultimately, and we always go back to this with Elite, create all of this. You know, a travel blog on YouTube is integral to this. I was thinking about the time frame. I was thinking about like 6 years. Like, we were talking about this over the desk this morning. Like, we feel like we are at the point conclusively, with absolutely no caveats, that like this felt like an Elite problem on this Dynamite. And previously, I think you absolutely could very justifiably say, well, no, like the Elite feel like they need to be around each other to support one another through like the culture war with CM Punk. So that like waves away 2024 and 2023.
And I will say as well, sorry to step on your dick, when they did that mirror image of the Revolution 2020 post match with them reuniting ahead of having that feud with the Blackpool Combat Club.
Amazing.
That felt great.
Yeah, amazing moment. 2021 and 2022, there was business rationale for why it was actually good. 2019 and 2020 was the formation of the company. So, you know, there was always justification for it. Whether people liked it or not, there was absolute reason to do it. Now we're at a point where, like, well, you kind of have none of that anymore, but you're continuing to go back to it. And I find that strange. 6 years, just the example that popped into my head was that, like, 6 years is the difference between Hogan Warrior at WrestleMania 6 and Hulk Hogan having no choice to turn heel because the entire world despises him. The red and yellow has to go, and the NWO happens, and, you know, whatever. But, like, that is, how many lifetimes is that? Do you know what I mean? That's where we're at from the formation of All Elite Wrestling, and for them to still be talking about it and founding Father Crack and all that kind of thing. Like, that's 10 lifetimes in 2025 pro wrestling. Like, it's even longer than it would have been 1990 to 1996. You have so many other routes to go down, so many other like creative paths to investigate. And the Young Bucks' first segment back drags Kenny Omega back into like that orbit. He spent months being just a singles wrestler, and us being,
It's been like awesome.
yeah, we really enjoyed it in spite of its quirks. The triple threat, the three-way.
It was awesome
at the pay-per-view. Yeah, and And it was just, but for me, it was like, I would love a Kenny Omega singles match, but I'm still enjoying this because I've got him back. And then this was like sort of a worst case scenario. The Young Bucks in their first segment back, drag him back in. It doesn't feel like good use of your talent.
There's been a growing movement of keep Kenny Omega away from the Young Bucks among certain, I would like, jaded contrarians on Twitter. Just a lot of people flat out hate the Young Bucks. I am not one of them. I will never be one of them. But my God, they are increasingly difficult to defend. And it's not my job to defend them. I just think they're unbelievable. I think they're absolutely incredible. I know that they've got their flaws in terms of the lack of interest. Like, at times, the fact that they can be a bit pouty, the acting at times, like...
Their library of matches has made a joke out of the critics.
Yeah,
a joke out of it. You know what I mean? Their archive of matches.
I will never stop thinking that they are capable of doing something. But my God, I watched them interact with Kenny last night and it not being good or passionate or anything. And I'm thinking, stop doing this for a year. I even said that in 2023.
Yeah.
Like, as it became clear, this isn't as good as that initial interaction promised. Keep them away from each other because it's even like they can't be arsed with it.
I say this was immediately followed by a match, but it's not really worth, unfortunately, commenting too much on because Pac sadly suffered an injury. I think around the time he took the buckle bomb from Swerve, ankle, foot, leg injury of some sort, he sort of rolls out to the floor. Fair play to him. He's like, no, we'll finish this. I'll just hop in on one leg and eat the thrust kick and the Swerve stomp, but not really worth analysing this, is it?
No, not at all.
Get well soon.
Get well soon.
So instead, we'll move on and we hear from the teams involved in the 400 grand tag match coming later. Ricochet announces there's a lot you can do with the 400k. This is Team Ricochet, and I'm the captain now. Everyone else is very surprised by this. And the baby faces, Mark Briscoe announced the word of the day is entrepreneurial. Asks everyone what they're going to do with the money. Will Ospreay's off to Disney World. You're going to buy some shoes. They're going to go to Magic City, and Mark Briscoe is going to diversify his portfolio.
Love this. Needed this, I think. Just needed it.
I liked it. I did think... I don't know. Like, I was in a pretty bad mood with AEW brackets general from whatever the hell the first 30 minutes of the show was. I thought if AEW is like clicking or it's a good show and you see a bit of levity like this, I'm bang into it. But they got me smiling during the match itself.
This promo,
Mike Bailey saying he's going to buy some shoes was funny.
Nice bit. What this made me realise is that, like, all along, the conglomeration was just Mark Briscoe's great crack.
Yeah.
Like the stable, the idea.
Else
like,
doesn't matter.
What a lovely way this randomly come together. Nah, just stick with anyone you like, make them say long words, and like all of a sudden they'll be your new favourite stable. Yeah. That's no disrespect to the original conglomeration.
Yeah.
Kyle O'Reilly and Ishii and whatever, but like this is the phone. It's Briscoe. Yeah. Briscoe doing this stuff.
We get a video package on the Women's Owen Hart Cup. It's going to be Billy Starks versus Jamie Hayter and Athena versus Harley Cameron on Collision this week, which means we're probably going to get Mercedes Money versus Athena on Dynamite for Spring Breakthrough.
Oh, it's all official.
Main event. Spring Breakthrough.
Come on. Let's be realistic here.
Renee Paquette is backstage.
You know what I like on this podcast?
Yeah.
A little bit too real.
Renee tries to ask.
You're a real funny guy.
Hangman Page about the Owen Hart Cup and his match next week against a wild card, but he's not there for that. He storms into Swerve's locker room. He's not there, but Prince Nana is. And he tells Nana to sit down and listen. He's going to make something clear at Dynasty. He wasn't trying to help Swerve. Looked like he was. But next week he starts the Owen.
Is that a case of he's denying what he truly feels?
Yeah. I think so, yeah. He says he's doing the Owen next week. Swerve intervenes. He'll pick up where he left off. Please, God. Page tries to walk away. Nana stops him and tries to apologize for what happened a year ago. But Page cuts him off saying, don't say another word. You don't get to say that.
Yeah. The acting's not very good.
I love this.
I know you did.
Yeah, I love this. I like
it's your
that.
treat, innit?
Yeah, it is. And I continue to be impressed with how they convincingly and organically for pro wrestling like delay the inevitable of them two coming together because we've seen it since late last year, realistically. And I think these weeks matter. Like the you don't get to is like it's a really nice sequel on from the I Know last week. Those like characters coming to realizations, and Hangman Page, like he's lying to himself. He did, as you pointed out, he did help, but then not letting, we've all got kids. Like the point at which if they've gotten in bother for something, the point at which they think they're out of trouble, and you as the parent having to sort of have to keep the stern voice on it because like it's not quite over just yet. Like Hangman getting to do that to Nana and Swerve is for me like an important element of all of this. I think the first example I ever used was when it was still MJF and Wardlow together, and it was like, look, there is only one thing that I love more than just the hatred and the violence of a foohead. It's when the mutual respect brings them together. But you've really got to earn it because sometimes wrestling just takes the piss with that. And it's like, well, mate, like whenever you see the picture of it, it's always when you see the picture of Cena and Carlito, isn't it? Sorry about the stabbing. Sorry about the nightclub stabbing. Yeah. Like that's kind of like unforgivable sin that they're just, whatever, we're mates now. Like when it does it right, it's absolutely magic. And I continue to think they're doing this right.
I will say that my early mood barely lifted throughout my viewing experience of Dynamite last night, but I couldn't help but think, right, this was sort of like a backstage promo segment, the likes of what you see in wrestling all the time, and acting, and then the promo train early with like the Titantron and the music introducing each act. It was just whenever AEW tries to be WWE, it always comes off TNA. And I just couldn't help but think with the very WWE-like pacing choices and formatting choices and the level of acting throughout not being very good, Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega. My God, is it not time that we overhaul the entire format and presentation of AEW Dynamite? That's what I couldn't help think. Maybe it's an impulse thing and there is a way to elegantly do the same old US TV style wrestling that you've had on cable TV since, 1998 in some form or other. But I couldn't help but thinking, like, maybe this would be better if it wasn't so feddy. It was a bit feddy, all of this. Like, old feddy.
Here's something to cheer you up, because what came next was the $400,000...
Feddy Leonberg.
$400,000 explosive 8-man tag match. It was Will Ospreay, Kevin Knight, Speedball Mike Bailey, and Mark Briscoe versus Ricochet, The Crew, Leo Rush, and Action Andretti, and... Oh, God.
I can help you help you out. It's the Beast, Mortos.
Ricochet, team captain, leads by example by immediately bailing to the outside. He was magic in this. He lets the Beast start with Mike Bailey, who hits a quick Hurricane Rana. Ricochet tries a blind tag and a sneak attack, but Mike Bailey's ready for him, so he's like, nope, I think Leo Rush it is. Ospreay comes in. There's a bit of an 8-man stalemate. I say 8-man stalemate. There's 7 men squaring off and Ricochet standing a bit further back. But then when they turn their backs, he starts mouthing off and squaring up to them. And they turn around and he's like, oh, bollocks. And he gets his head caved in. And the babyfaces put everyone in the corners, 40 punches, locomotion splashes, a big chop to Ricochet. The heels bail to the outside. Briscoe and Ospreay hit dives onto the Crew. Knight flies over the post to take out the Beast. And Bailey hit a springboard moonsault onto the big pile. And the babyfaces, hands in. Ricochet tries to dive over the top. They all move, and there's a meme, obviously, of this where he does an amazing flip, lands on his feet, but then suddenly realizes, oh no. And of course, gets killed by all 4 of them to take us to a break.
Sorry to cut in just there, but I think it's worth mentioning. Ricochet is so awesome. This is the second time his flying nothing has been memed.
Yeah.
Like and we don't like to talk about Velveteen Dream, but like the NXT one and now this, like that's how amazing he is. Is like you can take this stuff and theoretically do nothing and make it like the highlight of a night or something. I love watching him feel himself again. It's great, man.
I would have exploded in the building had I seen this.
Yeah. When we come back from the break, it's Mike Bailey and the Beast. Bailey hits a running shooting star for 2, but Mortos fires up and hits a lung blower. They're both down. Ricochet comes in, but stupidly poses for the crowd, then misses a springboard. So Bailey takes out the Crew with charging boots, turns around into a double stomp by Ricochet. Briscoe runs in and cleans house. He gets hit by a pop-up Samoan drop by the Beast, who tries the same thing on Knight, but he counters that into a spike DDT. The Crew come back in. Rush hits Rush Hour. Andretti hits a flying neck breaker. Ospreay does a handspring double Pele onto both of them, but Ricochet blindsides in. Bayley comes in. Ricochet hits him with a powerbomb into a DVD to get a 2 count. Briscoe takes Ricochet to the outside. It's just Speedball Mike Bayley and the Beast now. Briscoe makes the save. They both backflip onto their feet and tease a double crane kick. They hit it. Ospreay flies in with an Oscutter. Ish. Ospreay hits an Oscutter. Knight hit the UFO splash. The heels break the count, but then everyone spills to the outside except the Beast and Will Ospreay, who Ospreay this is, hits the hidden blade to win $400,000 for his team.
Don't know why they did that. I don't know why you have to justify literally every match with some kind of storyline, but fine, I guess, whatever. This match was loads and loads and loads of fun. It was one of those where if you have like an argument with a mate and the first person makes that overture and tries to do a joke and you go, all right, okay. This was like that. Because AEW put me in a mood, like a pretty foul mood where I'm like, oh God, what year is this? Why are we doing this again? And then this match charmed me big time.
Yeah.
I will say it was more fun than exhilarating.
Yeah.
I saw the lineup pop up and thought, Jesus Christ, that could be one of the TV matches of the year. Wasn't quite that, but the tone was right. Just a lot of fun, which potentially the AEW fans might have needed after such a result on Sunday night. Lots of the work was tremendous. My heart broke, however, because on a night where I thought, has AEW just lost it again? Like, how many times are we going to feel this? Oh, God, they've lost it, or it's not going to ever be this really cool promotion. There was a moment of literally only in AEW magic in this match, like absolute magic, where you think that is the level of friggin' detail and thought I associate with this promotion at its best. Speedball Mike Bayley is kind of the Karate Kid or an 80s composite martial arts dude. And Mark Briscoe does redneck kung fu, and they're both doing it together. Yeah. And oh my God, I would never have thought of that in my entire life. Mm-hmm. But AEW will, and they'll let them express these thoughts. And I wish they'd just kick this guy in the head.
Yeah, nailed it.
It was like, what an idea. The execution whiffed. I was almost happy that there was like a kick out. So, this keeps going and we can just forget that. Then the finish arrived rather quickly after that. I mean, everyone looked outstanding in this match. It was a lot of fun. Don't know why there was a $400,000 thing attached to it, but ultimately the people in the building had a great time with it, and it was just very, very fun.
I hope it's a shoot and they just follow Mark Briscoe around spending that $100,000.
They've got the money.
Yeah.
He's trying to like keep all the cash in the notes and like float there, pick it up. I love that you've said that, Sidge, because it's just hit me. Like AEW does the wrestling version of that thing that like I used to love that Triple H used to do. Oh, I didn't think about those links. And they find it in the actual matches and they find it in the actual wrestlers. Like,
you mean Rob Fee?
No, I
the
mean
director of law.
No, he doesn't exist as the game Triple H.
No.
I think it was Rob Fee that Gunther said saved wrestling.
Yeah,
Gunther was wrong to say it.
He's the world heavyweight champion, so how can he be wrong? No. I want to get back to this match and I want to talk about it because I absolutely loved it, and I think I loved it more than Sidge because I like character-based bollocks more than wrestling exhilaration.
Like there was a bit of both in here, and that was the old buffet.
This was overspilling in that, and I found a certain irony to them taking over Nitro next week, in that there was a certain like WCW's on its arse flavour to a bunch of main eventers talking a load of shit that you don't care about anymore, followed by a lot of the mid card that made you think, it's still a title worth fighting for it. Yeah. That was very late WCW, because to see Ospreay, who is the world champion elect, and to see the likes of Mark Briscoe and Speedball and Ricochet and like the crew, but just getting to be their authentic selves in an environment that suited it makes you think, once we get these like boring old farts out there, what's bubbling under is really exciting. Yeah. And that was like kind of the last couple of years of Nitro. Yeah. Brackets general. Yeah. It was just that stuck out to me. I was like, it is all right. It is absolutely all right because there is clear investment in these characters. Otherwise, you don't have a match that plays out like this. Like Ricochet was the most obvious example, but you could see it dotted around in all of them. You don't get this with simply 8 flyers, for example. There's got to be the investment first.
Just imagine going in like a time machine back, 4 years, and to see Michael Sidgwick and saying, in 4 years, Sidge, you're going to be watching Dynamite going, God, I hate the Elite, but thank God for Ricochet. Eh?
Yeah, I know.
Mad. But a bit of a groove here now because we see footage of FTR killing Cope. Oh my God. Dynasty. And they talk about, you may never see Cope again. He's suffered really severe injuries. Tony Schiavone kind of cuts a promo on Dax, saying it's one of the most low, disgusting acts he's ever seen in his wrestling career. And Dax Harwood's daughter is going to be ashamed of her father. I think he's going to regret that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is like elegant stuff. This is really, really good stuff. In his rather ill-fated podcast, Dax Harwood, when he wasn't just, like, do this when you're retired, mate. Do this when you're retired. There was a glimpse into, he's got a really good mind for this, He spoke about some ultimately dropped ideas in their feud with Santana and Ortiz, where I'm thinking that would have been awesome. And I think Dax is like in that ever-expanding room of like creative team members, or at least he contributes. I remember reading that a long time ago. This is possibly no coincidence that's most well thought out, proper stuff, or amongst it happening in AEW right now. It feels like a transgression. And this Tony Schiavone thing was one of the highlights of the show for me. Really, really strong stuff.
They're more monster him, aren't they?
Yeah, and great.
Even if it's just intimidation, even if it's just...
Yeah. More to the point, it just stood out. It was striking how much a commentator taking something seriously really elevated the storyline on this show.
I forget, with Dax's podcast, was that the one that MJF was talking about when he said...
One of the only professional wrestling podcasts that's actually worth a
Oh, that was us.
No, so it was us.
Right, speaking of MJF, it's time for the Hurt Syndicate's championship celebration. I got very excited when I saw that graphic drop last night. They come out, obviously, they got their balloons and their jumpers and what have you. An MVP cuts a promo saying, Punks jump up to get beat down. 2 more challengers stepped up for our tag team titles. 2 more got beat up, basically. And they get the champagne to Lashley and Benjamin, and they toast to another successful title defense. And MJF's music hits. Out he comes. He didn't say anything. He just stands in line with him.
I like that a lot.
Here we are. Look at all of us, eh? We hurt people, huh? Look at us, eh? Dripping in gold. You're welcome, by the way, he says. This couldn't have come at a better time. Covers up what we discussed actually on a previous podcast, I remember, by saying, Tony Khan wanted me to be the Owen, but what am I going to do, swipe my balls off? I don't think so.
I did say it.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Now I can just get back to my world title. And, I scratch your back. You help me get back the Triple B. I mean, without my help, woof. Now you can help me. What is the initiation process? Like an old school Blood Brother contract? Bobby Lashley, shut your freaking mouth! I love him. He says, shut your mouth. Cute that you tried to help us, but Big Bill was still stood there, so I just killed him. You didn't get the job done. We did. We don't need you. MJF and Lashley kind of argue, and MVP and Shelton Benjamin have to step in. And MVP says, look, in order for you to join the Hurt Syndicate, you have to get 3 thumbs up. You get a thumb up from me, says MVP. Benjamin, thumbs down. Bobby Lashley celebrates like a title win. Yes! Hey! Hugs him, they leave. And MVP's like, more on this a little bit later as MJF's like, get the camera out of my face.
I continue to love this. Like, really amusing. I like how the contrast exists between the Hurt Syndicate and MJF. They're playing with it beautifully. It's not yet anyway. Like, it's not remotely too cute.
No.
Like, I know Bobby Lashley is ostensibly performing in a comedy segment, but he still radiates that, like, don't go near him. Like, he's going
to put your hand on his shoulder.
Don't put your hand on his shoulder. Like, Shelton corpsing was really good. Because, again, like, this was almost diametrically opposed to that Kenny and Young Bucks angle where, like, if anything, Shelton thought, oh, this is too good. Like, that element of it was too funny. Now it feels like they're enthusiastically grabbing onto whatever the storyline is and wherever it may take us. And it's just, again, MJF is the best outcomes guy in what is quite possibly the most predictable medium of all time. Wrestling functions to be predictable. It sold tickets on the idea of being predictable, and it all too often is. MJF is the best outcomes guy in the business because there's 2 now, either joins or finds someone to fight them. If he joins, what convinces Lashley? Like, we could sit and just like dedicate an entire 15-minute segment to that on this podcast.
And we've still got to get we've got to get Shelton's thumbs up first.
Yeah. Well, like, he's wavering because he thinks MJF's funny and just wants to hang around with him.
Denying it almost, isn't he? But
do you want me to do the other segment?
Yeah,
might as well do it here.
Yeah.
Because Hurt Syndicate are backstage with Alicia. Oh God, Got a surname.
That's, it's a shame for you.
If you remember, you should have put it in your notes.
A 2, bless me. She says, where do things go now with MJF? And Lashley's like, look, MJF's not to be trusted. I don't like him. We don't need him. And Benjamin's like, obviously we don't need anyone, but little George Costanza's kind of funny. And he's winning him over. And Lashley just walks away. And Sean's like, I'll go and have a word with him. And MVP goes to talk, but there's a knock at the door. MJF walks in and says to Alicia and 2, "There's an A to B conversation, so why don't you see your skank ass out of here?" Slapped her on the bum and said he'd seen her around. So he turns to MVP and says, "I'm perturbed. MVP, do I look like a female dog to you? Or why do I keep getting treated like a punk bitch?" MVP says, "Look, no, we all know who you are. Your reputation precedes you. But we're in a business, and when you're in a business, with regards to a consumer, you find out what they want and you give it to them." And he leaves MJF to just ponder that point.
Is he going to have to commit a horrific act of violence to make
Yeah.
Lashley think, oh, this guy's quite handy?
Yeah.
He needs to really hurt someone.
He's going to do it, right? It's going to be an outlandish act, like hit somebody with a car or something like that, right? But that
The one-time a car angle would be good in AEW, by the way.
But, like, with the exception
Burberry
of
car.
Burberry car, like another one where he can hang out the window and go scream like he did with Jericho that time, right? Hit somebody with a car. I love wrestling, setting up dumb stuff to be the biggest thing in the building. That's why I raged about the Yeet being on tape last year, because they actually made me desperately want a thing and then took it away through somebody's phone video of it. The earthquake of a pop when Bobby Lashley puts the thumbs up, like you've just established that. The moment of the reveal when MJF turns on the Hurt Syndicate, like that. 2 things. Yeah. 2 proper, dumb wrestling capital M moments that is kind of what this business is all about.
Kind of taking the 3 thumbs up from us, just to point that out. Let's not forget from the start of every single podcast.
That's true. Yeah.
Where is you?
They're welcome to borrow that, I guess. You tell the Hurt Syndicate that. If you meet them, like in Vegas,
I'll message Max.
Yeah, Sean's around in Las Vegas. Going to
catch up
just
with
tell
him
him to his face. Yeah, what can possibly go wrong with that?
Bobby here? Huh?
Yeah.
Bob? Is Bob here?
Yeah, I love this so much.
Yeah.
I love it so much. It feels really vibrant, and it's got the right sense of fun. But then, because you're able to do this follow-up segment where MVP is asking for violence, serious violence in this thing that is otherwise at the moment quite light and cute. It's really nice getting to watch
punching
these
someone with your diamond ring, that doesn't count. That's not violent enough.
Yeah. That's going to be great. It's going to take it way too far.
Yeah,
It's going to be great.
After the first segment we talked about, Renee Paquette's backstage with Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford, asking about what happens following Dynasty. Ford says, it was a taste of defeat, but it changes nothing. Everything isn't erased just because Toni Storm effectively just survived against Megan Bayne. They're going to be at Collision, and Bayne's going to kill everyone, basically.
This is the kind of thing that Hamflett will award 7 stars.
Correct.
Just the idea of someone who, should I lose faith in this performer? No, they've been profiled on TV. That I should retain my investment in them.
It's a shame. I'm not taking the piss here. It's a shame she said Collision and not Dynamite.
Yeah.
Because that was the one that Sidge is right, he's got me. I was going, good, follow up. Like, of the fashion. Like, but we know what Collision is versus Dynamite. It is a bit of a demotion. But, like...
A minimum of 3 women's matches on Collision.
But you can let it play out, I think. We'll see if within like a couple of months, if she's still this kind of feature player who's causing problems for people, then job done in getting Megan Bayne over is somebody that matters.
Yeah. I know that right now all the belts are on Mercedes, but she's certainly someone who should be in that conversation for a non-world title, basically.
Well, the divide is obvious, isn't it, between the ones that get over and the Vortex women?
Yeah.
Right, so you just get to now see which one she ends up being.
Just the one women's match on AEW Dynamite, though, Sidge. And it was Kris Statlander versus Thunder Rosa in the Owen Hart Cup, of course. Timeless Toni Storm on commentary. She said, the first thing she said was, if I team with Statlander, we'd be called Thunder Thighs. But if I team with Tony Schiavone, we'd just be called Tits.
There was a line with Schiavone later that was unbelievable. Did you write it down?
I don't know if I've got that one.
So there's a line where she said...
Oh, is it the bit about her losing?
She said, I wrestled Kris Statlander once and she dropped me on my head and I lost 3 inches. Then I met Tony Schiavone and got them back. Unbelievable line.
Was he giving her like a piggyback or something?
No, he's got 3-inch cock apparently.
Big boy. Back and forth between Rosa and Statlander takes us to an early commercial break when we come back. Oh, this was the bit, where she said the line about Tony Schiavone. Rosa tries a Casadora, but Statlander counters into a blue thunder bomb for a near fall.
Lovely. Unbelievable spot.
Yeah, Rosa spins out of Wednesday Night Fever, hits a destroyer as well for a 2 count. Also hits a big charging knee and says, nothing personal. Slaps Statlander in the face. She charges at her, but Statlander cuts her off with a big lariat and hits Wednesday Night Fever to get the 1-2-3. Post-match, Storm applauds, and there's a nice moment between Kris and Thunder Rosa.
When I said earlier that maybe it is time for AEW to drop AEW bad storylines, the feeling, a lot of like overacting, and I know it's in the DNA of AEW to do like melodrama and stuff, but they did promise a sports-oriented presentation. I'm just saying. When I talk about, it'd be nice to have a radical overhaul of the presentation, so much goes into it. The terrible finishes, the oppressive heat segments, how stylized everything feels with the entrance music, interruptions and stuff like that. You could bin all that if you wanted. You could really bin all of that. What I want out of AEW ultimately was encapsulated in this match, which was awesome. Like, maybe awesome's a bit strong, but I had an awesome time with it, and I thought it was very, very good. Urgent, competitive, tournament wrestling, dumping people on their head, scouting moves because you know how dangerous they can be, countering them. This just felt like proper tournament pro wrestling with a nice, clean finish. This is why we're here. This is why we come to work. We come to work to reach a goal, and that is I want to get to the final of this thing. I'm going to fight my heart out to get there. This is really, really strong stuff, like the antidote to a lot of on this program last night. I had a great time with this.
Totally agree. I think it's too, like, it gets simplified too much. Jerry Jarrett was right. Personal issues draw money. But it gets simplified in the sense that, well, across an entire card, how do you make those personal issues feel different? And how do you, but the eyes on the prize thing should never be lost. Ever. We always talk about how, like, the Punk MJF's the best example because they're two people fighting for the world title. And then their collision course becomes so violent and personal that it takes them away from it. Yeah. But the idea is, when this is all over, the winner gets to get a go at the prize first. Like the belts. The personal issues get in the way. This was so enjoyable that I just was sad that it wasn't a semi-final and Thunder Rosa was out because I was like,
look at the brackets.
Yeah,
they look awesome.
Semis look ridiculous.
It's like there's more stuff to look forward to because it's all about getting to that belt and the like biggest stage to get it as well. It's a huge prize.
Don Callis is backstage with Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention. There's no ladies' night, obviously, because there's no Hamflett on the preview yesterday. But for those keeping note, it was shout out to the guys who always handle the
data.
Thank you. The Panda Blair himself, Adam Blair, at Adam Wilton 4, and Jose Palomares at the Ho 11. Adam Blair, who also got a nice shot of the brilliant Scott Carlson and Matt Reigns in the crowd. Did you see this?
You heard about this?
Yeah.
Having a great time at this show. But yes. It was 1 hour, 18 minutes, and 57 seconds.
I would have said that.
Like, to the exact second as well. Oh.
Don Callis is backstage with a oiled-up Kyle Fletcher. Jesus.
What a hunk, man.
And let's not forget Konosuke Takeshita and all this. He says all roads lead to a Don Callis Family final in the Owen Hart tournament. He says Brody King might have got one over on Lance Archer, but that won't happen again against Takeshita. My men are all in their 20s. Oiled up, hot, talk of the town.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ, Kyle, what have you been doing?
I don't know, man. He's going to kill someone.
But given the rash of injuries that have taken place to the family, they're opening up spots to join them. Send your resume and your bank account details, and they'll send you straight to the top.
Really enjoyed this. They feel like a star act.
Yeah.
Callis being the hype man is actually working.
Yeah.
He'd scooper.
He's tweaked the energy of the group, hasn't he? From like dark and dangerous to like a bit more obnoxious.
Yeah.
And it's benefited both of them, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that sinister music and the big manipulator, the invisible hand.
Yeah.
Now he's just like an out and out sleazeball.
It's a good move.
How does that work for Don Callis? We are here.
It was getting passé, wasn't it? So it was worth acknowledging that and getting past it.
Adam Cole's backstage with the Undisputed Kingdom. Kyle O'Reilly says they've been chasing this moment since they got here. They're going to chase moment after moment. Roddy says it's time for them to get their moment. And Cole says, look, he's the new TNT champion. He's the face of AEW. He talks about, what a tough couple of years he's had, understandably. But he says this isn't the end. It's just the beginning. They're the paragon of professional wrestling, and that is undisputed.
Yeah, they tried to get this off the ground a few years ago, and now they're trying again. Paragon.
Yeah.
If you like.
You can have it if you want. Maybe Roddy Strong will get some more Dynamite matches.
I do hope so. I'm sure the audience will as well.
What about Paragon versus Undisputed Era? I can't do MJF Cole again. No. It's fine. Okay, it's fine.
What isn't fine is I'm the learning tree. Chris Jericho comes out for TV time with the learning tree, but he's very serious. Talks about losing the match on Sunday, losing his tooth, losing his title. Despite being disappointed, congratulations, Bandito, you pulled it off. After months of conflict with one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, me, you saved your mask, but you had the help of an intrusive sister and a stooge of a mother, he says.
Every now and then.
Yeah. You've got family, but so do I. And he brings out Brian Keith and Big Bill. Jericho says he had hoped that all three of them would have been stood there with titles tonight, but they couldn't win the tag titles. And Bill has just had enough already. I'm sorry right there, Chris. I know what you're going to say. Look, I know you're angry. You've every right to be, but so am I. And Brian Keith's like, shut up. Big Bill's like, no. He needs to hear this. Got a lot of respect for you, Chris. He says, you're one of the greatest of all time, one of the most decorated champions in history. That's why I decided to join the learning tree. But I didn't sign up to be a punching bag whenever things go wrong. If me and Brian Keith are out here for you to teach us, then great, teach. But if it's to just publicly humiliate us, let us know now and I can just leave. I know Brian Keith feels the same way. Jericho kind of gets in his face, or gets in Keith's face and says, is that true? But he moves on. He says, that's not why I brought you out here. If you thought that, then you've got a lot more to learn. I handpicked both of you to stand by me because I saw potential. You're future champions. But I'm disappointed in you that you weren't out there for my match. Some might say it's your fault, Big Bill, that I lost the Ring of Honor World title. That's what some people are saying. But not me. I'm okay. I'm not even angry, actually. I'm just disappointed. And he grabs a bat and he smashes the Jericho-tron. And he keeps screaming that he's disappointed. He's effing and jeffing. He's disappointed in them. And until they change that, maybe it's best that I leave. And he goes to leave. And the fans do the na-na, na-na-na-na. Hey.
Goodbye.
Fozzy have got a tour next month. Just worth noting that, I thought.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Fozzy's going on tour. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Fozzy going on
Monday,
tour.
Tuesday, Fozzy Day. Wednesday, he goes somewhere else. Thursday, Friday, Fozzy Day. Just off. Please off. No more dialogue with you.
How many times has this happened? Moxley doing it to shut down a heckler aside. MJF, you Mark, great. Go yourself. Christian Cage, great. And then the other version by Cope. 3 Fs, maybe one more actual F-bomb in AEW. It's now Chris Jericho's turn to say the worst word. Well, the second worst word. The first worst word is and
hey, Rock, go yourself. Whoa.
Not only does Jericho give himself the ultimate, you're going to get a reaction if you say this line, but he actually says he's going to go away. 2 easy, things to... Ooh, the Jericho segment was good or promising, and I still didn't like it very much. Yeah. His overacting, I'm disappointed. It was so... I'm a person performing in a segment badly. That was just the impression I got. That when he finally says the F-bomb, I'm like, what else you got? Yeah. It's just... You've already ruined it by overacting and just... It's just a caricature. Yes, you've reeled back the sort of over dumb comedy aspect. You've tried to be more sinister. You've done what every far too ambitious heel stable has done. You've dropped the pretense and just being a heel stable, right? From the NWO all the way down the learning tree, the Death Riders. It's a bit too ambitious. Let's just be a heel. Just be a heel. He finally does it, and his acting is so... And I'm disappointed. Jesus Christ, do you think Jericho's disappointed? And when he finally goes, I'm disappointed, it's like you meant to go, whoa, Kris! You can't swear. Then I'm like, oh, yeah, he swore. Desperation.
Yeah. This guy really is detached from reality. As if I couldn't get that from the last 8 months.
Yeah.
I love him. Didn't think Big Bill was great here either.
No.
This was like a big moment for him. And I didn't buy it. And it's particularly weird.
There's so few performances I actually bought on this week's Dynamite. It was staggering.
Well, Big Bill is a guy that you bought without him being sold to you. That's how he's gotten over so many times, is that like this guy, it's wrestling and just like 7 foot as a class, brackets general. But like Big Bill with his performance, like steals the show or like just owns, like maximizes the minutes more than a lot of people.
Me and Hamflett popping from in Vegas. Jesus Christ.
Well, we're going to have to strap up Big Bill, it appears. And then here it is. Here's a bit of time and here's a bit of whatever. And there's big storyline development. It's a bit like, I don't buy it. Stick a lolly back in your mouth. I don't know. Like all the nights, he didn't have a good one. I don't think it's the end of anything. Like he's had too many good years of a constant sense of you're nearly there, like nearly there. This just wasn't it.
Following that, we see Anthony Bowen's return, of course, at Dynasty on the 0 hour for some reason. Answering
to generate pay-per-view buys.
I don't like it when they do these. They did it. Same with Jamie Hayter. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I get it. Yeah,
the methodology.
He's wrestling on Collision against Blake Christian. What's his nickname again?
Vanilla Baby. I mean, that says it all.
That is the hate.
That's a good match. That's a good match.
The hate comparison is pretty apt because the same thing happened and that hasn't worked for it.
Yeah.
So they tread carefully there.
Yeah. I mean, he's on Collision. He's got a ceiling over his head.
Pre-show and Collision rather than
this was the bit with the Hurt Syndicate and MJF in their locker room, and then we see Chris Jericho storming out of the arena and smashing things with his bat before leaving. Main event time. It was Samoa Joe and Hook versus Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. Joe and Yuta start with some forearm exchanges, and Yuta realizes, oh no, it's Samoa Joe, so he bails out there to tag in Claudio.
Thought Wheeler Yuta was great in this match, by the way.
Yeah. Claudio comes in.
Two of these now, because he was doing the same sort of stuff at the pay-per-view in the tag as well.
Claudio and Hook go at it. He doesn't move when Hook tries to T-bone him. Slams him down, brings in Yuta, who tries for a dive, and Hook just sidesteps it. There's some suplexes in there. And Joe comes in with a snapmare, a boot to the back, and a leaping elbow. Yuta goes to the apron, but he pulls out Hook's legs and allows Claudio to hit a double stomp to take over as we go to a break. When we come back, Hook's still in trouble. Claudio's sort of toying with him, but he finally hits a big T-bone out of the corner for a double down. But Yuta, little sneaky little bastard, cuts off Joe before the tag, but turns around into a big throw from Hook. Hook gets to the corner, but where are you, Joe? He's not there. So that's what he sounds like. Claudio
I'm Hook from Leeds.
Claudio comes in with it. You got any crisps? Claudio hits him with a big uppercut. There's the powerbomb top rope clothesline combo.
Kai's saying, what do you want for tea? I want crisps. Is that what your brain was going?
I think so.
Where is your brain going?
I never know, man.
Killed Mojo Rawley yesterday.
NXT review.
I heard about this. Oh my God.
Joe and Claudio brawl on the outside. Joe hits a huge...
It's like an actual shoot. What?
Huge Uranagi does Joe hit on Claudio. Inside the ring, Hook applies Red Rum, but John Moxley appears.
Yay!
Millhouse. When are they going to get to the John Moxley run-in? Oh, there it is.
TNA Hogan music.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
In his living room at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah! Wake up, kids.
Right, that allows Yuta to rake the eyes, break the submission. Moxley grabs a chair, but there's Shibata, who appears from behind, puts him in a choke. Joe puts one on Claudio.
So what, he was easily defeated in 3 minutes. Yeah. He's zero threat, we know this.
puts red rum on Yuta to get the submission victory. I'll do the post-match and then... Yeah, okay.
No, I like this match. Just the post-match is always the post-match.
Post-match, Marina Shafir nails Joe in the knee with the chair. And Claudio opens the chair up, upside down, opposite end up, basically, and hits Hook with a neutralizer onto it.
Look great.
Cool spot.
Look cool.
The Death Riders bail as Joe and Shibata make the save with chairs. And Joe grabs a mic and screams that the Death Riders are cowardly sons of bitches. The Ops came to Baltimore to get into a fist fight, and the Death Riders are acting more like dick riders than to come fight. But he makes it simple. Ops versus Death Riders. They're coming for the Trios Championship.
Let out talk, mate.
And Joe and Shibata help Hook up to allow the Ops to stand tall to close out this show. Trios Championship.
I'll tell you what. I actually had fun with this match. I thought it was good, and I think Wheeler Yuta somehow, like from like the least fertile soil, something's beginning to shoot there. Truly, I thought there was a great bit of attention to detail. Like what a little bastard he is, where he's obviously terrified of Joe, and like a little bitch. The second he gets the opportunity to blindside him, he takes it. And I thought Joe was very clever here because he got knocked off the ramp by Yuta, but he did that bump. Love this bump where he goes off the rope but hits his head on the apron on the way down. So that buys him a little bit
Not
more
the
time.
shot that's dropped him completely.
Yeah, which I thought was really clever. He understands. I mean, Joe, a bit more cringeworthy than some people are prepared to admit. Genuinely really knows what he's doing in that ring because he's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's just a...
Death Rider stink.
Who could care less about the Death Rider than the Ops man? And as well, like, I love that chair spot, but a bit like booking Moxley to beat Shibata as easily as he did. Like, end of the show, it was like, Hook's up, he's fine. And you've got like two weapons-heavy matches with all of these people and a trios title match to consider, which, like, Moxley will presumably deputise the pack. But, like, it's a bit like, well, you've done that, and he just got up by the end. Like, it was a bit sort of...
Playing devil's advocate, the finish was Moxley raked Shibata's eyes. Maybe in a fair fight, maybe Shibata would have won.
Well said.
But you know what I mean? It's like they take the piss with the storytelling, and they expect you to just buy into things that just clearly aren't worth buying. Like, yes, they said, oh, Shibata can come in and choke out Moxley because Moxley had to cheat to beat Shibata.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone beat Shibata, so it doesn't matter if you had to cheat him on this night. It was still a really underwhelming match.
I don't know why Shibata's family didn't say, well, hang on, you rate the eyes, we need to restart this match.
Yeah, indeed.
That's where they went wrong there.
And, you know, like, he cheated to win. It's like the punishment certain AEW wrestlers absorb, and you could argue too many matches makes a mockery of things as well. I didn't think we needed surgery, but we need surgery. You know, just radically overhaul the presentation of Dynamite. See you later.
Let us know your thoughts on Dynamite in the comment section below or on X at WhatCulture WWE. You actually can follow all four of us. You can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
Follow Michael Sidgwick at...
You're in a mood on Sunday, so let me be in a mood on Thursday. I am Sidgwick.
Follow our brilliant producer Adam Nicholas at...
It's Adam Nicholas.
And you can follow me at Adam Wilbourn. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE, as I said. Make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. But for now, this has been the Dynamite Review. My thanks to Hamflett, Sidgwick. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.